Hello and welcome to our second battle report from me, and that is about to be recorded. The game that I am going to show you is for the IGL round 2 event. I don't have footage of round 1 because at the time I didn't really think about starting this channel. This basically means we're gonna start from the round 2. My opponent was playing Onyx Contact Force, and we are playing in Armory. I'm going to use the same list I'm going to use in last launch, but after going through it, just know that the list I'm playing was designed mostly for last launch, and the Armory is basically as an afterthought of that. So let's just get straight into business. This is a list I've decided to run, and this is generally speaking a military orders good stuff, as I would like to call it. The first models that I always start the military orders, and I think you should start with too, are the Tigbalank of Montesa and the Dart. Both of those are really key players and basically enable the entirety of military orders to work. Tig of Montesa doesn't really need a lot of introduction, he's an extremely good tag, and Dart basically is one of the basically the best assassin that Pano has access to, and a really key piece in allowing a lot of punishing for null deploys. After taking those two models, we're taking a Knight of Teutonic Knight with a Spitfire NCO, a Teutonic Light with a shotgun, and then a Crozier. Generally, this Crozier would be a paramedic, but in this instance of the list, I simply don't have the points to upgrade him. That's why he's running combi rifle. After taking those key pieces that I'm starting the list with, I decided to add the lieutenant because we need a lieutenant, and I have a Teutonic Knight lieutenant because I cannot afford a knight commander. Then we have a Crozier paramedic and the curator for our tag. Generally, the curator is mostly there to unbrick the tag if it's possible, because Tigbalang doesn't really get killed most of the time because of climbing plus, low silhouette, and mimetism. It's more likely that he's getting hacked than killed, so that's why we have to take the curator. This basically creates a 3-man fire team Harris for cheap, and this also allows a Gizmo Kit burst 2 for the tag if it goes down. Then another good stuff is Raveneye, which is also kind of a no-brainer in military orders. He provides an EMI, an Emerald, a Forward Observer Specialist, a really great package. Then we're taking a Fugazi because we only have access to one Fugazi, so might as well just take it. And this is basically what this was really easy to take into the list. Then I basically started to think what I can also have for the missions, and after some practice I found that the Evo Hacker is basically a necessity for last launch, because it's the only model that is extracted without ID tokens, which basically saves you like 3 or 4 orders, which is quite a lot. And at the same time, if your opponent is running an Evo Hacker and you don't, then you have a really big mountain to climb, because the Evo is over 30 points, and it's rather difficult to have a specialist that you can dispose of and not really suffer the consequences for that. So I figured that Evo is a must hack. The Evo is not there to provide any firewall support, where I will basically never use it outside of just launching it into last launch. The bonus for the extra order in Armory is also really neat, but I wouldn't really call it basically worthwhile to spend the extra points in SWC. After that, I basically also run into problems where my opponents would throw smoke into the armory or the objective room, and I just couldn't enter or secure the room. That's why I've decided to include Blackfriar, forward FTO with heavy rocket launcher and multi-pistol. And this is quite important. She's not in the list to provide an arrow duty. I mean, it's okay if she does that, but she's there to punish smoke throwers and with her multi-pistol or even a heavy rocket launcher. She's not really that expensive. For 25 points I think it's really worthwhile to include her, just to have an opportunity to punch an attack into the room at the last possible second and kill that one pesky Varangian or Wallace with NMSV2 instead of gambling on face-to-face rolls. Then finally, after taking all of those pieces, I run into the problem of the group 2. After losing those models, I didn't really have anything to do with the rest of the group, even if I have orders there. That's why I decided to include the escort sergeant, just to have one extra template to attack the room if I need from the group 2, and also as an additional deployment guard. Generally, why the sergeant is not really that good, because he's quite expensive, the heavy flamethrower makes him worthwhile in this particular set of missions. So basically this is a list that I will be running for the objective room based missions, And let's just get right into our opponent list. This is a list I'm going to recreate from the head. I don't from a memory. I don't have the list from my opponent, but from my what I remember, he had an Unidrone core with a Nexus in Engineer in Group 2. An Nexus Engineer has an NCO if I remember correctly, and generally this entire fire team is in Group 2. I really don't like fire team 2, Group 2 fire teams. The reason for that is that generally you have to spend the orders on the fire team itself, and you don't really want to risk the fire team before turn 2 or turn 3 even. So I'm not really a fan of investing so much into the unit drones if they are in group 2. Then we have a Norcas, which is really important piece in my opponent's list, because generally I cannot really think about taking the room as long as the Norcas is alive, because Norcas is such a powerful piece. He's really good at jumping from one target to another and just basically always using the Proteon, and Armory obviously allows him to do that. So I cannot win as long as Norcas is alive, so he's my opponent's win condition, so the entire game really hinges on Norcas being alive. After that, my opponent decided to take Suryat with +1 Lieutenant Order to supplement the Norcas with, as this is understandable, and then an Umbra Samaritan. Umbra Samaritan is basically a worse Norcas, but he's he's still a Proteon wielding CC monster to take the room if the Norcas eventually goes down, and then Kurgat just to form a neat Harris. I think this is a list that has a really good idea that to play the armory missions and the objective-based missions, but this list is really doing well in vacuum. I think there are better tools in Onyx that you can take, not particularly this playstyle, but it is what it is. The drone, I suppose, is there for the same purpose as mine is, but this one has a gun, so it can also do some gunfighting if needed be. And without further ado, let's just get back into our game. So this is the deployment from the Onyx player. I won the lieutenant role and decided to go hard second. Basically, the reason for going hard second is that, well, I think it's possible to win in armory. I really cannot play into Norcas. So as long as Norcas is alive, I just cannot enter the room, because once I enter the room, Norcas enters the room as well, eats all of my guys, and basically he's unkillable at that point, and I simply lose. So I knew that no matter the cost, I just have to play second, and if the Norcas gets into the room, I can just basically shoot him. So this was the game plan for this particular game. And the Norcas, after getting put from Zeph, will be played from this way, and the Samaritan plus the Harris is basically located here. The link for the Unidrones is located around this area, and as the game will later show, they are going to approach the room and attack into the room. So this is something that's really a plan from my opponent's side of things, that he at the list building stage decided this was something he wants to do, and I don't agree with that, and as the game progresses you will see why I don't really agree with that. So yeah, that's basically the deployment for for my opponent. Let's just get to my deployment there. My deployment is basically I was deploying fast without knowing my opponent's deployment. I tried to deploy as safely as possible. This baggage bot is supplemented by the Fugazi, and then this is like one safe spot, and then the fire team core is basically located around the middle. I had to deploy Blackfriar first before I was allowed to see any of my opponent's models, and basically I tried to hide my lovely Blackfriar in a way that she cannot be shot from this angle, she cannot be shot from this angle, she cannot be shot from this angle, and basically she's only providing a close range arrow duty in like this way, which basically means that if she gets a shot, then great, but generally she doesn't really want to die. That's about it, because templates are really good in missions, objective-based missions, and there's nothing else I can tell you about it. And then finally, before placing my tick blank, I decided to make one spot here and the other spot here. Both of those spaces were places I could put my Tigbalang, because this spot on the right side is protected by my Teutons, and the spot on the left is protected by Augsbot and the other sergeant. The worker is put here so he can like watch there and there. And finally my dart is located there. So I could either 1-2 punch with dart into Teutons. This is plan A basically, because I presume that Tigbalang will die in the first round. There's nothing I can stop. There's nothing I can do to stop a well-played Norcas, other than trading my Tigbalang for a Norcas. And as like we mentioned already and I established, if the Norcas dies, I have a chance. If the Norcas doesn't die, I really cannot afford to stick my room. So even losing the Tig wouldn't be such big deal, because I can use the cover of the room to approach, and all I have to do while playing the armor is just to attack room after room, wave into the room, and just outpoint my opponent. So what ended up happening was that Norcas, spoiler alert, and the Norcas was deployed here, and he was running right around here, and then he used Cyber Mask to avoid the line of fire from my Blackfriar. The Norcas jumped there and put himself in this spot, and in the meantime the Unidrone fire team that was located here went up, opened the room, and basically made themselves comfortable inside the room, which, as you will later see, is basically a terrible fate for the Unidrones. So after the Norcas is placed here, my opponent tries to total control my Tigbalang, and after unsuccessfully doing it once, he decided to change gears and try to melee it, I suppose. The Norcas starts to sneak around here while trying a sneaky dodge, and my Augsbot replies with the dodge of itself. And what ends up happening is that my Augsbot manages to jump right in front of the Norcas. This basically creates a situation where the Norcas, the Augsbot, moves to here from the position it was, stands right in front of the Norcas, and this basically prevents the Norcas from moving any further. There is a possibility where the Norcas can just jump right over it and try to reach base-to-base contact, but at that point in time we were not exactly sure whether this will be enough to reach the Tigbalang, so my opponent was left with quite a conundrum. After some time, what they decided to do was jump Norcas into close combat with the worker, hit him, and use the extra wounds to survive the oncoming shots, jump possibly into another target, and basically bounce from target to target. This was a really ambitious plan, because he's getting flamethrowered here, flamethrowered by this Augsbot, flamethrowered by this Tigbalang. Then he's getting combi rifle shots, and combi rifle shots. So what ends up happening is that Norcas successfully deletes the worker, which is expected pretty much. But as you can see, there is no Norcas, because again, combi rifle, and then double flamethrowers from those guys, which basically this removes Norcas from the equation, which makes the game much easier and basically a wash. As I said, the Unidrones take place in the middle of the room, and that's where they want to live, and basically they are left there somewhere in the cover, but this is basically a template heaven for me. So what I end up doing in my turn is basically advancing my Tigbalang right around here, taking some shots. Before that I started with the Raven Eye. I move right around here, sneak up to the room, and basically ask for reactions from the Unidrones. My opponent decides to shoot with everyone, which again I think he should just shoot with 2 and dodge with 3 probably. But the end result is the same. The fire team will no longer be a 5 Unidrone fire team, and I think I'll cripple at least some of them. What ends up happening is that 3 out of 4 Unidrones get bricked, and this basically leaves 1 Unidrone with a plasma rifle and a Nexus unbricked. The Raven Eye is of course deleted, but this is irrelevant. Then the Tigbalang starts basically running up, and as he runs up he starts taking shots into the bricked Unidrones, deleting the sniper in like 2 orders, deleting the Unidrone that's not bricked in 2 more orders, Then I decide to go with my Teuton Ignites right around here and basically use a combination of Spitfire and a template to pretty much clear the room. The only one model that is left standing is the Nexus in the corner of the room. But I at the last possible order of the game, I just run into CC with him, dodge the template, then use O12 Prestige to generate an order and kill him in close combat. I left out the tick right around here because basically the only gun that can threaten him is the NCO, I mean Suryat with HMG, and the HMG is not the best weapon to kill a tick balang. And I really want to deny my opponent the possibility to enter the room with his Samaritan. Oh, now that I say, I remember that my opponent, instead of the E-drone, had a care now, basically. I forgot that he had a care now, which will now basically become quite apparent. Because what my opponent, and the guided, yes, he was running guided and care now. So now I remember that there's something wrong in the list that I showed you, and I suppose that instead of Kurgat there should be care now, and instead of Idron there should be a GML. The reason for that is that ends up happening is that the Nexus their care now shoots a picture inside the room, and this declares a spotlight against Teutonic Spitfire. Instead of resetting, I just declare a dodge. We both succeed, and I spend the movement to basically move into closer to his unconscious Nexus. This is less than 2 inches. The guided play is no longer possible because I'm really close to the unconscious Nexus. The Crozier could do the same, hide inside of this repeater. So basically, we are immune to the guided as long as we just stick to the bodies. Kernel tries his luck in the usual way, the more direct way, shoots at the Crozier and then basically promptly dies to a tick blank shot, and the Crozier survives in the meantime. So this basically leaves my opponent with only one choice, one action of play, which is to play from the Suryat, and what ends up happening is the Suryat moves from here to here and tries to engage the tick blank, puts 2 wounds into my tag without cover because this is what it is, and what ends up happening is that this Spitfire finishes him off, and this is basically game. Because at this point in time, my opponent simply has like 4 or 5 models just on the verge of retreat, and I'm player 2, so I basically get a 10 and my opponent gets a 0, and that's about it. That's all she wrote. And what I could basically said my opponent could do in this particular game, and what we talked about the game afterwards, was I would basically just all in into the Norcas and move him all the way here and spend the entirety of the turn total controlling my tag, and then using it to basically shoot as much of my guys as possible, and then possibly move the tag in a way that he can hide the Norcas into base to base with the tag and just basically hide there, and I either kill my tag or I just lose my tag to Norcas. The other option was to simply use the care now pitches, shoot them here and just brick the tag. I have an engineer which is located here, but this is an effort I have to take, and it's probably much easier for my opponent to break the tag than for me to repair it with whip 12. And definitely the unit drones don't really have a lot to do because they are in group 2, but they could just be played and from here and basically put the unit drone sniper here. There was an angle where he can delete the Blackfriar. There's also an angle where he can basically pin the tick blank in place, and he will be much more difficult for me to remove than using a Raven Eye. I would have to use either the Dart or Teudons, which is much more risky than what my opponent decided to do. So basically, my opponent actually defeated himself, I think, and there's not a lot to talk about this game. I really hope you enjoyed the game, even with me spinning the pictures a few times. I basically mess up my keyboards as I just try to use the hotkeys, and yeah, this is third time of me recording this, so forgive me for not recording this for the fourth time. Thanks very much everyone for watching. I hope you got something out of this, another really quick game, and yeah, I'll catch you next time. Have a good one. Cheers.